Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our today's webinar on leading HR transformation. My name is Ayesha Tariq Sethi, and today we have a very special guest with us today, Malik Ahmed Jalal. So, Mr. Ahmed Jalal has been an investment banker, private equity investor, manager, and an owner. He has worked in UK, US, UAE, Jordan, and Pakistan, and is a highly human-centric leader. So, Mr. Malik has a lot of experience across a diverse portfolio of businesses, not only in setting them up, but also leading wide-scale transformation across organizations. So, Mr. Jalal, welcome to our session today. How are you doing?
Thank you, Ms. Aisha. Thank you. Great to be on your podcast and great to have a conversation about the human potential, the human-centric organization, which is very essence, not only transformation of organizations, but also transformation of Pakistan.
Essentially. So, the main objective of having this webinar today on this topic is to understand the importance of the human resources functions in businesses, no matter what the size. Typically in Pakistan, we have noticed that businesses which are mid-tier or small tier or which are family-owned businesses do not pay much importance to the human resources function, only to realize later when they scale up that HR is basically the heartbeat of their organization, and if they don't get it right, they're not able to either set the tone for the culture, or they're not able to achieve the desired performance outcomes from their employees. So, and this has been my experience as well. This has been Mr. Jalal's experience as well. So, and I would like to pick on his brain and gather more insights on the matter. So, Mr. Jalal, my first question to you is that why is it important for business to have a stable and quality human resource function? A very basic question, but a very pivotal one.
जी आपने बिल्कुल सही फरमाया कि पाकिस्तान में लोग एचआर के ऊपर पीपल डोंट एम्फसाइज ऑन इट एंड उसकी वजह ये कि हमारे एक मुल्क में हमारे कल्चर में रियल एस्टेट या फिजिकल एसेट की ज़्यादा वैल्यू होती है एज कम्पेयर टू ह्यूमन बीइंग की हमारा रिलीजन भी बताता है और नॉट ओनली रिलीजन बट ऑल्सो यू नो वेस्टर्न फिलोसफी पॉलिटिकल थॉट और वो ये है कि ह्यूमन बीइंग्स आर हैव पोटेंशियल एंड हमें हमारे रिलीजन में कहते हैं कि अशरफुल मखलूकात सो ह्यूमन बीइंग्स हैव पोटेंशियल व्हिच इज फार ग्रेटर देन द फिजिकल एसेट्स जो हमारे हो गाड़ी हो बिल्डिंग हो हम उसको वैल्यू ज़्यादा करते हैं लोगों को कम वैल्यू करते हैं if you look at organizations, then the value of an organization should be more than the sum part of its assets. And that comes from the culture, positive culture, that comes from process, and that comes from people. ह्यूमन बींग्स की वो चीज है जो कि एक आप मशीन है ना एक मशीन की एक लिमिटेशन होती है इट कैन प्रोड्यूस विजेट्स लाइक 10,000 विजेट्स इन एन आवर ह्यूमन बींग्स आर गॉड्स क्रिएशन के वी टेक्निकली कैन सरपास आवर लिमिट और उसको मैं एग्जांपल इस तरह कहता हूँ कि इंसान एक जमाने में सिर्फ भाग सकता था he could only run and that is to define his limitation and you know 10-15 kilometer then he was able to harness the power of horses उसने हॉर्स को किया फिर वो 10-15 किलोमीटर से 45 किलोमीटर तक उसकी रीच हो गई एंड देन उसके बाद उसने फिर स्टीम इंजन या इंजन की तरफ उसने किया तो उसकी लिमिटेशन 100 किलोमीटर 200 किलोमीटर तक होगी और फिर उसके बाद रॉकेट इंजन एंड नाउ rocket engine tak pahunch gaya. So this is the potential of human beings, which far exceeds the physical value of the asset. और उसमें ये वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ह्यूमन बींग्स को वैल्यू करें और रियलाइज करें कि अगर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैव टू बी व्हाट यू कॉल एक्सपोनेंशियल पोटेंशियल then the exponential potential उनकी physical infrastructure से नहीं आएगा. It will come from tapping in the capabilities, the aspirations, the skills of people who work with in order to grow. In order to grow bigger than, bigger and bigger beyond their expectations, yeah, beyond self set limits. So that is very important. That's why human beings have to be organizations have to be human centric. And any organization, if you look at the best organizations, they put human beings or human at the center of the organization. That's why you have very strong HR functions in the West. Any big organization like GE, like Citibank, are known for having very strong HR leadership development pipeline systems, जो कि हमारे मुल्क में नहीं है. And that's why our economy underperforms. Our economy underperforms, our exports underperforms, our stock market underperforms the rest of the world. And that the basic reason for that is कि हम human beings को उस तरह value नहीं करते जिस तरह हम buildings को value करते हैं, गाड़ियों को value करते हैं. अगर हम वो करेंगे तो जिस तरह हमारे पास अमेरिका में भी ट्रिलियन डॉलर कंपनीज हैं, हमारे पास भी एटलीस्ट बिलियन या $100 billion कंपनीज हुआ करेंगी.
So, I think a core belief which drives this sort of behavior is that, you know, there is no additional benefit or value in valuing people if you can just get work done out of them via force, basically. So, थोड़ा सा जो local culture जो है, it is more geared towards uh, फोर्स अप्लाई करना या थ्रेट ऑफ पनिशमेंट करना, ये बेसिकली नेगेटिव reinforcements rather than going towards the positive side of setting up a positive culture. And unfortunately people are seen as replaceable, कि कोई बात नहीं, if this person XYZ leaves, so he or she can be easily replaced. So in this context, what are your thoughts, and how and why do you think we should change this belief and move towards people-centric organization, and perhaps clarify people-centric organizations as well?
अच्छा, ये आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है कि हमारे यहाँ फोर्स ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल की जाती है. आई हैव वर्कड एंड लिव्ड इन इंग्लैंड, इन द यूएस. वहाँ पे बहुत कम होता है. पीपल वर्क वॉलंटरली एंड पीपल गिवन देयर ड्यू एफर्ट. अच्छा, हमारे यहाँ जो है वो एक जो मसला है, इट इज़ बिकॉज आई हैव बीन एन एम्प्लॉई इन पाकिस्तान एंड आई हैव आल्सो बीन एन ओनर. So I've been also been, you can call, say, a kind of a small mini state. So I have seen it from both ends. And I think the problem lies at both ends. जिसे कहते हम कहते हैं demand side problem है और supply side problem है. On the demand side, the sales are not willing to share the upside, or the owners are not willing to give transparency, or at least उनको safety and security to employees. They want to keep them feeling that के वो किसी वक्त भी dispensable है. So mental safety लोगों के पास नहीं होती, और this is the way state tries to control. I would say tries, because most of the time it doesn't work. The employee through threats or through coercion. Let's say not threat but through coercion. So ये एक supply side, demand side का मसला है. People are not paid, or at least the increment नहीं होती. अच्छा, हमारे यहाँ internal equity भी नहीं होती. Someone who is probably a favorite gets ahead. Someone who works hard doesn't get ahead, doesn't get the compensation rise. And so people also feel कि यार मैं अगर मेहनत करूंगा तो मुझे क्या करने की जरूरत है. I will withhold my effort. मुझे क्या फायदा है उसका करने का. Number one. तो ये है डिमांड साइड का प्रॉब्लम. सप्लाई साइड का प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारे एम्प्लॉइज भी और काम को समझते हैं कि बहुत बार समझा जाता है, नॉट सेइंग एवरीवन, कि वो somehow the work that they do will benefit their owner or will benefit their company more than it benefits themselves. And so they are very stingy, I would say, or very restrictive with their effort or contribution. And I always say to people that the work that you do always stays with you. अगर आप काम छोड़ के चले जाएंगे, वो तो आपके सेट के साथ, आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ आपको उतना फायदा होगा, मगर अगर आपने जो चीज़ सीखा है वो आपका अगली ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में और उससे अगली ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में भी जाएगा. And my belief this is कि a good reward, even if you not get the reward of it, but the effort, all effort gets rewarded. And you will get rewarded not in this organization, next organization, or next organization, because your work and its reward is a compact, is something that is between you and God, and you will get it. and human being is just a conduit, or an organization is just a conduit. So one should definitely work hard, because ultimately by working hard you are investing in yourself. And if you work hard, yes, temporarily somebody else may get benefit for it, but over a long period of time you will get benefit. Mere under, I would realize my first organization where I led the transformation, there were 5 people who became CEOs. I would say that they worked very hard. I would also say I was very tough on them. I was very demanding of them, because, of course, we were in a very tough situation and it demanded a lot of them. But now, they are no longer working with me. They are CEOs of different organizations. Who is benefiting? They are benefiting. They are the ones who are title, who have the title. Their wives, their children, they have the benefit of it. I can only talk good things about them, because they deserve it. But सबसे ज्यादा बेनिफिट मेहनत करने का उनको हुआ. हमारे यहाँ इस तरह के लोग इस तरह सोचते नहीं है. तो ये दोनों तरफ का मसला है, डिमांड साइड का और सप्लाई साइड का. आई थिंक if we are to solve this problem, now believe me, this is a society wide problem. We are a slow social capital. वो पहले कहते पहले आप, वो कहता पहले आप, कहता पहले आप. और जब भी कोई अगर एक मिसस्टेप होता है तो पीपल ऑलवेज बिलीव, वो कंस्पिरेसी थ्योरीज आ जाती हैं, ओ यार वो तो ऐसे होते हैं और यहाँ पे तो ऐसे ही होता है. दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ थिंकिंग पीपल हैव, रादर देन ट्रस्ट. एंड यू से कि ओके, आई ट्रस्ट द प्रोसेस एंड आई हैव टू गो. In the future, I have to I have to I'll go with it for the time being, and give some time. I think if the culture has to change, literally what needs to happen is on the organization side, the HR has to be more empowered. So HR really has to become an independent function. Pakistan mein HR is most of the places not an independent function, because HR is a source of power. Okay, power for the CEOs, power for whoever has the board or whatever. अच्छा, उसका क्या है? Because मैं बाहर होता था, I was working Goldman Sachs and Deloitte and big organization. Nobody ever approached me for a job. People knew कि job का एक system है, एक method है. पाकिस्तान में जब मैं आया काम पे and I was CEO, everyone would approach me for a job, and they would feel offended if I would not entertain them. So soon I realized that giving jobs or getting rid of people from job is a source of immense strength and reputation and glamour and status. So उस करते करते HR को, ताकि HR की independent voice ना हो या HR के independent process ना हो, a lot of time HR is weakened. So HR अपना core function नहीं perform करता. So first thing has to happen is that the power of hiring or internal equity, compensation, all of those things needs to move back into HR under a process. Yes, there is of course ways to intervene with it, but it is not ad hoc, it is not individual. It is based on the process. अच्छा, जब वो process नजर आएगा लोगों को, लोग कहेंगे यार देखें, one of the reasons I go and I queue in England, मैं जहाज में बैठूंगा और मैं इंग्लैंड जाऊंगा 7 घंटे 8 घंटे, same person I'll queue for 3 hours. I take the plane, I come back to Karachi, मैं queue करूंगा एक दिन, तीसरे दिन मैं क्यू को तोड़ूंगा और कोशिश करूंगा आगे चल जाऊं. Why? Because in England or in other countries I have a trust कि यार एक सिस्टम बना हुआ है और मेरा बारी आ जाएगी, और अगर मेरे आगे से कोई कट नहीं करेगा और आई विल गेट माई ड्यू शेयर, यस आई मे हैव टू बी पेशेंट, बट मुझे मिलेगा. पाकिस्तान में ये नहीं है. पाकिस्तान में मैं अगर क्यू में खड़ा रहा और शरीफ बन गया तो कोई ना कोई, हर कोई बंदा मेरा रास्ता काटता रहेगा, मेरी बारी कभी नहीं आई. सो once the people have faith in the HR system, process, the transparency, the equity, then they are able to say कि अच्छा हाँ, अगर मैं effort करूंगा मुझे उसका reward भी मिलेगा. So the starting point of it has to be an empowered and strengthened HR. And number 2, I think उसका जो बहुत important element है वो है compensation. I think we have to go towards a very much reward or pay for performance based compensation. Your top 20% of the people in the organizations have to feel special, have to be driving it. It has to create. And then I would also say the bottom 10% have to be taken out. ठीक है, all the top organizations in the world, whether it's McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, they have an up and out policy. लोग हमारे मुल्क में इसको थोड़ा सा कल्चरली उसको जरा खराब समझते हैं, यार अब किसी की नौकरी को क्यों लात मारोगे या क्या करोगे, रिस्क पे लात मारोगे, बट नहीं, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, प्रोफेशनल है. If you are bottom performing, you're giving time to perform. If you don't, you're not part of the organization, and someone else is given the chance. So that creates the constant competition between employees, and employees know that if in the top 20%, then of course they can have a better compensation, they can have better life for themselves, for their families, for the children and everyone. And I think those two things have to work, both from an employee side, but also from side of the employer.
So I think what you just mentioned in it reminds me of Rome's expectancy theory, which is one of the key motivation theories taught to anyone who has studied organizational behavior. If people are only motivated when they know that their efforts will actually lead to a reward. So when they have this belief, or जब नहीं होता, so obviously that's when demotivation occurs. And that's exactly what you just like mentioned right now. So one question, because since you've been a business owner, and something which I commonly observe is that these business owners, or in local lingo what they call states, they believe कि ये लोग खुद अपना HR run कर सकते हैं. They don't really need HR, right? So hiring and firing की तो है, and they can do it themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
Like if you are a small shop, then perhaps you could do it. I think and so. I would split this role into two. One is called talent, okay, talent, and the other is called what you call box standard HR process and systems. I think as the role of a CEO or leader of a department, you are the kind of talent developer and talent manager. वो आपका इवन रिक्रूटमेंट में बहुत से लोग आते कहते हैं मैंने एचआर नहीं रिक्रूटमेंट करके दे रहा, तो मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ यार देखो एचआर विल एज अ फैसिलिटेटर इट विल डू इट, बट लुक who's going to benefit the most if you have a good team member? Of course you will benefit more. So it's your responsibility to go out, market yourself, market the organization, and get the right person in. So I think as far as talent management, talent attraction, then all departmental heads and CEOs should take the lead in that. That's one aspect of it because they are responsible for talent retention and also talent pipeline. But when you talk about HR process, so but the moment you are more than a 25, 30 person organization, then what happens is you need internal equity. Internal equity का मतलब ये है कि ऐसा नहीं है कि 5 साल का बंदा का एक्सपीरियंस कोई दो बंदे 5 साल के एक्सपीरियंस है और एक ही सैलरी 2x है और 3x है फ्रॉम द अदर पर्सन. नंबर वन इंटरनल वो. नंबर टू परफॉर्मेंस evaluation. So one is what is called comp, the other one is performance evaluation, and number three is of course training and development. These are consistent actions. These are require consistent action. ये ऐसे नहीं है कि यार आज मुझे शौक हुआ तो मैं आज ट्रेनिंग करा दी और फिर 1 साल कुछ नहीं कराया, और या मैं परफॉर्मेंस एवेल्युएशन के ऊपर 2 साल में एक दफा काम हुआ है, और इस तरह नहीं होना चाहिए. दैट रिक्वायर्स ए कंसिस्टेंट मैसेजिंग, that requires a consistent effort. ये जो consistent effort है, I would call it a process that has to be run by an independent HR, who's professional, runs it unemotionally, without personal favors, and runs it as a process. तो उसकी बहुत सख्त जरूरत है हमारे organizations में, medium size organization में, even large organization में, जहाँ पे HR को बहुत undervalued है. Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Ji, so yeah, that's what my take on it.
Fantastic. So, what do you think are the prerequisites for HR transformation? If you can just identify the top three prerequisites for HR transformation in an organization.
अच्छा देखिए, मैं एचआर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की बात नहीं करता,
Mm-hmm.
मैं कहता हूँ ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. ठीक है. So because I have been a manager, I've been a CEO, I talk about the HR, I talk about the organizational transformation. In essence, the organizational transformation is the HR transformation. That's what it is. Okay? Because if the HR is transformed, your process, your operations, your sales, your finance, everything will work differently. So when I carry the HR transformation, the person I worked very closely with, Mr. Ehsan Durrani was the gentleman, Novartis ke long time ke head of HR the. He is the person I worked the closest with. Actually, people say the CEO worked the closest with the CFO, which is also the case. But I worked wherever the organizations more closely with the HR function, HR head, than with the CFO. And why? Because if I fix every problem that I have, can be fixed by having the right person solve that problem, or by having the right person look at that problem. So that is the way I think about it. So for me, I talk not about HR transformation, I talk about organizational transformation. See, Acha, now organizations have to be in constant transformation. If you are a successful organization and you're a growing organization, the moment you grow from 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, you are doing the same thing, but in essence, you have to do things very, very differently. You have to do things very differently as an organization, and so you have to transform. So organizations have to be constantly in transformation. I think for organizational transformation to happen, two, three things are very important. Number one, I would say, is that you need to have a cohesive, or you need to create a cohesive culture. ये एक चीज जो होती है usness, I call it usness, is that you and I are in it together, or we are a house. ठीक है, we have a boundary. हमारी organization is like a boundary. We are inside. There are problems outside, but we are in it together. ये बहुत ज़्यादा important है, right? Because transformation is change, painful. It's people, there are losses. Of course, आप तो बताएं हमारा मुल्क ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन में पिछले 50 साल से फंसा हुआ है, और इसलिए नहीं हो रहा because the cost of it on certain people is too high and they're not willing to pay the cost of it. It's very similar with organizations also. So you need to create a feeling of unity, a feeling of usness, so that people realize that we are in it together. And if we transform, if we change, then it will benefit all of us. Yes, there may be some losers, some winners, but overall the community will be better. So उसमें common values, common work principles, उनको introduce कराना बड़ा important है. If you don't have a culture, if you haven't stated a culture, you need to create a culture, because around that, then the organization can transform. Number two, which I'm also not very good at, is communication. Communication is very important because in a transformation, it's what you call there's a term, it's called the fog of war. Which is everything is uncertain, and when everything is uncertain, people assume the worst. Situation may not be what people think it is, but they will always assume the worst. Acha, who will assume the worst? There are always people who are what I would call rent seekers in an organization, culturally negative people. So they will take over and they will spin the negative stories. So that has to be countered with very positive messaging, with messaging of the culture going forward, the strategy going forward, and give people repeated assurance that if we are able to succeed, then of course we will transform, we will be better, our salaries will improve, our compensation will improve, and all of those things. So ये एक बात है. थर्ड जो एलिमेंट मेरे ख्याल में जो हम लोगों ने मैंने भी किया था, वो ये है कि हमारे यहाँ चैंपियंस की बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होती है. Cultural change champions. So when we did an Aman, we call them the Aman champions. So these are people who are generally positive about change, because change cannot be done by one person. Change happens when actually C-level, say one level below, people are embrace change. So उनको चैंपियंस को हम आइडेंटिफाई करें, उन चैंपियंस को हम प्रमोट करें, उन चैंपियंस को हम जो है जो है रिवॉर्ड भी करे, ठीक है, रिवॉर्ड करे, बिकॉज इफ यू नो दैट शिप इज गोना सेल and it is going in a certain direction, so people who are willing to jump and support it have to be rewarded, ठीक है, and so that it creates the pressure and the incentive on others to join them. So ये third element बहुत important. मैं आपको fourth element भी add करूंगा, which is a bit tough but I think is needed. Most transformations fail, and the reason why most transformations fail is because decisions are taken too late and are not decisively taken. People sit on the fence for too long, particularly with hiring and firing of people. See, you have to realize that the reason why a company needs a transformation is because what has worked before is not working anymore. Okay, so they will never, it's not going to work, and that's why you need to change. अच्छा, आपको कुछ हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में ओल्ड established या characters मिलेंगे who are the flag bearers of the old ways of doing things, ठीक है, अच्छा वो और मिस्टर मिस्टर कल्चर, मिस्टर ओल्ड कल्चर है. Now as long as these people are there in the organization, change is very difficult because they're the first one to undermine it, especially if they're in a position of critical importance. So these people have to be either brought in line with the new culture or they have to be exited out. ये एक बहुत important element है. You cannot have people think that transformation is going to be good culture. Mr. Kamran is coming in and talking about great values and having motivational. Yes, it is, like, but that's 25% of the time. The 75% of it is tough work. It's cost cutting. It's performance evaluation. It's changing the culture in by making it much more performance conscious. Performance का मतलब ही है कि there will be people who are underperforming. It's just not possible everyone perform. So you need to tackle with that. और मेरे ख्याल में उसमें जो मुझे एक बात मैं आपको बताऊंगा, मिस्टर जफर खान, he said it. He said it to me. And Mr. Zafar Khan was the CEO of Engro, long-standing CEO of Engro and Exxon. And then he was part of the team that then did the management buyout of Engro, and then he was chairman of PIE and a very distinguished gentleman. And he said two things, which is very important. Number one, decisiveness, so I have to act quicker. And number two, he said to me in a private conversation when I asked for advice, he said, cut deeper than you have to and cut quicker than you have to. So I asked him, what does he mean by that? So he meant by that is that the quicker you cut, the quicker you will come out of the downturn, and cut deeper than you have to. Achha, by the way, very interestingly, this was said to me by Mr. Zafar Khan 7 years ago or 8 years ago, but recently I saw something which Elon Musk also says. He said, when he went to Twitter and he saw changing the culture of Twitter, he said that, look, I get rid of people to the extent that I need to hire back 33% of the people. He said, and he was asked this question, how do you know you have gone enough? He said, when I know I've gone enough, when I have to hire back 33% of the people again. Now, of course, I think one should be very careful. One should be very sensitive when it's talking about jobs and everything. And of course, the US ka ek alag culture, hamara ek alag culture hai. But one has to understand that there is no change without pain. There is no change without weeding out. This is the process of nature. आप nature में भी देखें, pruning होती है चीजों की, एक process होता है rebirth का, rejuvenation का, वो organization में भी होता है, और इसका मतलब है कुछ लोग आगे जाएंगे, कुछ लोग दूसरी journey में जाएंगे. And I think that's very important. And that's the fourth element that I'd add to a successful transformation.
Fantastic. And what you just mentioned, I've also noticed in my own observations and dealing with different clients, those who are actually struggling to achieve long-term transformation is that they're unable to change those flag bearers of the old culture, and neither are they able to let them go. So, just somewhere in the middle, just just say whatever, no matter how many leadership experts that they bring, no matter how many consultants that they engage, उनके transformation efforts जो हैं, they're unable to be realized through fruition. And it's a very harsh reality to accept, but that's how it is. You can't have it all. I mean, there are
मैं
trade-offs in transformation, and this is
मैं
one.
मैं आपको बहुत लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंस हो गया एंड बी यूजफुल फॉर योर ऑडियंस. मैं एक डिपार्टमेंट था, मेरा मार्केटिंग डिपार्टमेंट था. आई नीड टू ब्रिंग अबाउट चेंज इन दैट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. तो मैंने तो मेरे मेरे साथ एक एडवाइजर थी, आई थिंक शी वाज एन एचआर एंड कम्युनिकेशंस एडवाइजर, शी वाज अ कम्युनिकेशंस एडवाइजर हु वाज वर्किंग विद मी। तो मैंने उनको कहा कि यार मैं ऐसा करता हूँ, नीचे से टीम शीम चेंज करता हूँ एंड आई विल ब्रिंग डिफरेंट पीपल इन एंड एट द एंड आई विल टेक द टीम लीडर आउट of that role, but I'll do that. So she said, she told me never do that. She said you need to look at where the problem lies. If the problem is the team leader, then you, instead of delaying the decision, because तुम जिसको भी लाओगे उसके नीचे, जिसको भी लाओगे वो उसी की कल्चर में और उसी की सेंस में महीने में आ जाएगा, एंड देन यू नीड टू चेंज दैट पर्सन, यू नीड टू change the culture again. So on her advice, what I did was I took that person out to my CEO's office role, and then I brought in a new head, which is a more difficult thing for me to do and earlier on, and then have him change the culture and change the team. So you're absolutely right कि लोग बहुत ज्यादा old standard bearers के साथ रहते हैं, and then that delays the whole transformation.
So that's a very interesting example and a very relevant one. It's just that I feel that not all business leaders have the wisdom sometimes to actually bring about transformation in this way. And sometimes they're so caught up within their own selves and what uh, they think things are, and it's just so far removed from reality that ये चीजें हो नहीं पाती हैं. I mean, what you call the ego trap, or what you call this bubble of self, जिसमें कभी कभार लोग लॉक हो जाते हैं. That's true for I think everybody. So, and I think another critical component is that these leaders working with consultants or organizational transformation coaches themselves, because at the end of the day, you're still on a personal improvement journey, no matter if you're the CEO or we are just starting out in our career. And sometimes we also need to get out of our own box perspective, or and look at things differently, and just get a new and fresh view of reality. So that being said, and I think these are some of the reasons why HR transformation or organizational transformation also fails. But what are your top three picks on why transformation fails in organizations?
Transformation, definitely, I think one of the things is, and जब मैं आया था ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन रोल में, मेरे पास तकरीबन first time there were two people who were kind of acting as my board, and they really reined me in certain decisions, or they pushed me on certain other decisions, and I thought that was very helpful. I for the first 1 year, I think that was very helpful, and after that, I had found my rhythm, and I went on my own. So people who are outside of the system are not beholden to you, so that you don't determine their compensation or their progression. I think their advice is very important, particularly people who have gone and seen it and done it before. तो वो जो है, there were two people like that who were very helpful to me at the back end. Most of the time I didn't like what they were saying to me. I will tell you, I would think, oh, I am in the thick of the things. You really don't know how it is to be in the middle of it. But nonetheless, I took their advice. I did, take their both coaching and their advice, and I think it did me good. It helped me for the first 1 year. It was more sensitive and helped me succeed. So ये number one, I think चीज एक बहुत ज़्यादा important है. Number two ये है कि I think कि you need to have incentives for change. So first of all, you need to demonstrate success. So you need to have some big wins. So you need to create momentum towards the new direction. So let's say an organization has not had a big sales win for the last 1 year. So suddenly you are able to generate that big win. And then suddenly people say, because everyone loves the winner, everyone wants to be associated with the winning thing, and nobody likes losing. And so I think work very hard yourself, um, and generate those wins for the organization, so the people feel that they come with you or in the ship, they will be successful. So that's the number two thing. And number three thing I would think that would be very essential to transformation is a vision. Vision, would you call values or vision, is what you cannot see, and it is more powerful than what you can see. Every great endeavor, every great change has at the root of it a grand vision that people get inspired by, people get hooked on by, people get commitment to, and they are willing to forego the pain, the losses of the short term, because they want to be part of the vision, the success in the long run. ये जो vision की articulation है, it is primarily the requirement and the demand of the CEO or the chairman of the board, whoever driving it, कि he reinforces that vision all the time, and that is very well communicated, and that is communicated all the time कि हम क्या. So we are talking about transformation. Let's say I'm in a healthcare transformation of healthcare sector, highly successful organization that is going to serve people all across Karachi, is going to resolve public healthcare problem. And so if you come on that journey, you are not only learn grow more, you'll not only be financially better off, but you will be part of a unique story of transformation of society, of organization, of service to people. So इस तरह का अगर आपके पास grand vision होगा, then people are willing to suffer. ठीक है, if they know the why. You know, there's a very famous saying, if they know the why, people have got the why you're doing it, they will suffer the consequences of anyhow how you go about doing it, the pain and the suffering of it. So ये बहुत ज़्यादा important. Vision is very important as a result of that.
I think that's the spirit or the heart of I think everything that you said, knowing your why, and that's what most leadership gurus across the world, also including like Simon Sinek की तो book भी है on this entire topic only.
Yes.
So and I think that's where it all starts, knowing your why. And जब why पे alignment आ जाती है across the entire organization, the how uh, is figured out. और हम लोगों का unfortunately सारा emphasis how के ऊपर होता है, and we all forget the why. And alignment on the why is another thing which is important. जब interest align होते हैं तो सारी चीजें जो है वो अजीब हो जाती है. But interest alignment is necessary basically, and that brings me to the other point that you mentioned, that that creating that feeling of usness, that we're all in this together basically. So anything else
Right.
that you would like to say in your concluding remarks?
So first of all, I think if Pakistan has to change, two things have to be more at the forefront: technology, digitization, and HR, human centric. The future is going to be about digital enablement of human potential and how digitally human potential can be expanded. That is what the future's wars are going to be fought about. Future success and prosperity is going to be about. We are weak on both areas. हमारी IT departments organization की बहुत weak होते हैं. अमूमन they're seen as a cost center, not seen as a center of strategy, और हमारे HR department भी weak होते हैं. So ये दोनों के दोनों areas को हमने इनके ऊपर focus करना है. HR has a very important function, has to be seen as a value creator. HR should not be seen as a protector of the people. HR should be seen as a protector of the values and the process of the organization. ठीक, ये एक मेन पार्ट में, उसमें किसी के साथ गलत जाती ना हो, उसमें अनपरफॉर्म करता है उसको अकाउंटेबल भी करे एज पार्ट ऑफ दैट. A lot of times, sometimes HR think that they are to side with the people against the organization because the organization is considered as capitalistic or some sort. वो जो है, then it reduces the value of HR. Then people who are managers, CEOs or chairmen or owners may see HR as not being value creative to an organization. And I think HR का एक बहुत मुश्किल role है, balancing role है, to be on the side whereby both people's interests and also organizational interests are both balanced, creative cohesively, and taken forward.
I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Malik Jalal, for your insightful views. And I really hope that our viewers were able to benefit and will hopefully apply some of these learnings because uh, while books provide us with fantastic knowledge, but at the same time, I think it's complementing academic knowledge with experience, which really provides us the true and deep insight into everything business and life. So, thank you so much, Malik Jalal. We're very grateful to you. And with that, we'll end our webinar. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank
Thank you to
you.
you and your audience. Thank you.
Thank you.